My question to that is really Rory McIlroy was asked about this, wondering if the loyal PGA Tour members like himself should get paid for foregoing the live money. And my question
for staying.
for staying, correct. My question would be if they weren't okay with Saudi Arabian money then, are they going to be okay with Saudi Arabian money now? Because it's the same money. It's just kind of filtered through the PGA Tour.
I think that is a really, I think it's a really important question. But like, what do you do? Do you just quit playing golf? Just play the majors? I think there's a difference, Patrick, and it may be small. I mean, listen, don't come to me for objective Rory McIlroy takes, but there's a difference between running to the Saudi Arabians to the PIF and them running to you, right? Like Phil ran over there and said and wrote the operating agreement. He went to them essentially, right? And Rory, when he was talking today, it's he used the word resigned. That's more so them coming to him or to the tour, right? And I don't know if that distinction matters, but I think it probably does.
We have that clip. Run it, Josh.
The one thing I would say is, again, whether you like it or not, the PIF and the Saudis want to spend money in the game of golf. It is they want to do this, and they weren't going to stop. So how can the thing for me, and this is this one thing that I've always thought about, how can we get that money into the game but use it the right way? And I think that's what this ultimately will do. Hopefully. I mean, that's my hope.
Yeah, one in the front right over here.
Just over here. You've said a couple of times now, maybe 2 or 3 times, if I remove myself from it and kind of trying to kind of forecast a bit further down the line. But is that a hint that there are bits of you that are still uncomfortable with, you're a football watcher, you've seen the reaction to Newcastle United's takeover over the last year and the Saudi kind of moves in soccer and other sports.
Yeah.
Is there a bit of you that's still uncomfortable with just how cozy Saudi Arabia and their money is now in golf? Like a lot of people would see that it controls a hell of a lot of golf.
I've come to terms with it. I see what's happened in other sports. I see what's happened in other businesses. And honestly, I've just resigned myself to the fact that this is what's going to happen. Like it's very hard to keep up with people that have more money than anyone else. And again, if they want to put that money into the game of golf, then why don't we partner with them and make sure that it's done in the right way? And that's sort of where my head's at.
I think the other thing here, Rick, is Rory also didn't make this decision, right? I think players are now. You could blame him for saying like he agrees with it and he's in on it. He said that to me last summer, and I pulled the quotes from an interview we did before the Open last year. So you can put that on him, I guess. But this deal was done by like 3 people, right? And so any player who receives money from it is not really culpable in the same way that Brooks and DJ and Bryson and Phil and Patrick Reed and all those guys are, or at least not in the exact same way. So I think that's also like a distinction that's worth sort of noting as we talk about all this.
I've resigned myself to it. I've come to terms with it. I want to make sure that the money gets spent in the right way, Patrick, which I guess who is going to decide what the right way is, right? We've learned a little bit more about what the structure of this new entity could look like, the for-profit side of things, where the PGA Tour will have a majority of the board members, which in theory gives them control over some of the bigger business decisions. But I mean, we've seen how a group of 8 guys or, whatever, like, control is fluid.
Do we have the full board number? Because it was Hurley, Dunn, Jay, Yasser, and I think they said they'd announce the rest later. Is that correct?
Rory,
Tiger. No. Yeah, that is what we know so far.
So they've got 3 of 4 hypothetically right now. They
but they'll probably be 8 or 9, right? Like,
yeah, yeah. Where that money is going to be spent, I think is. I'm interested to see what the schedule and I mean, there's still so much we don't know. Like, we don't know if LIV Golf is going to exist. We don't know if this is going to be a Champions League type of deal. The first year where, what if it's like top 20 from LIV, then top 50 PGA Tour, top 20 from the DP World Tour. So sorry, I got hedges getting blown out behind me.
That's okay.
But it's just tough to kind of know where the money is going to go, ideally into the big players' pockets. But outside that, it's tough to say.
Rick, what's your take on standing up to where the money comes from as a player or an organization? Because that was a big talking point this time last year, right?
Yeah, for sure. It is definitely okay. I'm on the record, and I hate governments in sport, like in general.
Yeah, it's not good.
I don't think the Olympics should exist, right?
Ooh.
Because like I'm like out on government funded sport. Like I think history has shown it has done far more bad than good. Okay, so I'm out on that in general. Now, if I'm a professional golfer, I do think it's not that different, right? Like, it is different, but it's not that different of Phil going to get $200 million directly from MBS, or the PIF funding a for-profit entity that is a partner with the PGA Tour that eventually gets money to Phil. Like, it's not that different. But I suppose if you are an elite golfer, do you have a choice? Is just playing the majors a realistic? Like, you could retire, I guess. If you really felt strongly about it, you could retire and never play again.
Well, the difference is Phil did have a choice.
Sure. But I'm saying where the money comes from, it's still the same money.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't think anybody disagrees with that. So the giving or the influx of the money is the same, but the receiving of it is different.
I don't besmirch Uber drivers that, the PIF owns whatever percentage of Uber and they're getting paid by Uber, right? Like, that would be silly for me to do that.
Do you besmirch the Uber board that approved the investment from the PIF?
More than the drive? Yes, sure.
So I think in that scenario, the players are the Uber driver. The PGA Tour players are the Uber drivers, and Jay Monahan is the Uber board, right?
Yeah, in that scenario, yes.
But also, like, Phil, Brooks, DJ, they're also the Uber board,
right?
Because they went and did that,
right?
So listen, like, in a vacuum, do I want PIF money in golf? No. Like that. No, it's not great. It's just not something that I think anybody in the game wants. But I think Rory's right. Like, if this is an inevitability, like if they're just going to keep pouring money into golf until somebody breaks down and lets them in as an investor, then I don't know. Maybe you do just like take a principled stance forever, but then like that sucks for the next 20 years because they're not going to go away. And I think the tour Monahan found himself in a position where you want to be tied up in court. Do you even want to have a business anymore? Tied up in court for the next 10 years. You have discovery that you don't. I mean, the whole thing is just such a mess. It's such a mess. And they could have avoided all of it by just doing what they did on Tuesday 5 years ago.